came to win, I don't mean to offend. The greatest on the mic, mightiest with the pen. Losing never been a choice, but a line is the same. Ascending, word bending, birds, birthed in the gym. Akin to the best, never aiming for less. Opposition so foul, got me calling for rest. Who's next to get bested? Mind, soul, and flesh is antithesis of mess. It's the precious of green. Hold on, you better catch a God throwing blessings. Dreams manifest, did you get what I mean? God always had a plan, he created for me. Your success only means.
Welcome to another edition of Knight and Craig. Well, obviously, no, I'm not Knight, I'm Craig. Knight, Dr. Knight's on that side.
I am, and Craig is on that side. I think we figured it out which way we need to point now. I think.
I hope so. At least the people see us. That's all that matters. That's what I'm talking about. I know off camera I was saying I was so nervous today. I don't know why. Today is that day that I'm just so just get goosebumps and feathers inside, all that kind of crazy stuff. All right. This is the day that the Lord has made. We're going to rejoice and be glad in it. We're doing something new. We got a series for everybody right now. This is Family Matters is the name of the series. And we're in part 1. And part 1 is called Sticker Shock. And we gave that, the Lord gave us that because there's a high cost of doing relationships. I was going to say doing business, right? But it's high cost of doing relationships.
Well, that's a part of it too, right?
Yeah.
Business is a relationship, depending on what the business, what it is.
That's true. And there's definitely a high cost of doing business, doing relationship, doing life with people. Even doing this show, there's a cost in our mindset of where we are, who we are, how we want to present ourselves without looking like it's too much, it's overproduced, or just reminding ourselves that it's not ours, but it's God's, and just doing it that way. I know from when I think about people, when I used to be in the dating world heavily before I got married, and now I'm back into it again. I used to, when a young lady would say, "Hey, agreed to go out with me," I used to sometimes worry about, oh my gosh, do I really want to go out with her? Did I really want to do that? And there was this sticker shock that I used to get and be a little nervous or hugely nervous about what I was getting ready to do. And only thing that ever helped me with that is actually just going through it and continuing to walk out the process. But man, I tell you, Michelle, it could be tough in our minds sometimes doing life.
Yeah, absolutely. I a lot of times I think about relationships in general, not just the relationships I was in before I was married, but just my friendships, my family ships, my family by choice relationships, and how all of that is influenced by the title that I give it, or the title that we agree to have, and how that creates this expectation around how I'm supposed to behave, how you're supposed to behave. And when you're getting to know people, jumping straight into that can sometimes be overwhelming, especially if it's not happening organically, which is how we want most of our relationships to be in the first place. Sure. But then we have like our blood relationships. There's no organic process to that. You're in it. You're the sister, you're the brother, you're the aunt, you have your title already. So what does that look like in terms of the role that you play within your family, and how that influences the direction of the multiple relationships within the family? So I'm excited about today's conversation, even though I think I'm maybe a little nervous too. I think it's a heavy, this is such a heavy topic. And really it sets the tone for the rest of the shows to come, because our ultimate goal is to help people heal and help their relationships become more healthy. So I think that's the cost.
Because that cost, like you said, it's that heaviness, right? I've been feeling that the last couple of days, where laying down felt like a weighted blanket on me. I used to always sleep with a stack of blankets on the bed, right? So I love that weight from the standpoint of feeling secure. But over the years, I got into electric blankets and lighter blankets, and they were a little weird to sleep that way, because I felt like I didn't have any protection or any covering. I didn't feel like the warmth was all around. But just yesterday, it just felt heavy. And then I had talked to a couple of other people, and they mentioned the same type of heaviness. And then you mentioned it here, and I find it, it's a thing. It's a part of that cost where we want to be able to do and go, but we know the enemy doesn't want us to be in that spot. He doesn't want us to be excited about what we're doing, and wants to put that weight. And I think that's where the scripture actually lives out, where there's a weight on us that with its what is it? I know I'm butchering it right now. There's a weight that so easily besets us, right? And
Oh, yes. Set
there's
aside. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that's where I feel that that's what that looks like for me in my life. Where when I don't want to do something, I get tired,
Mm-hmm.
I get sleepy, I
Mm-hmm.
get overwhelmed, and I get a little irritated with my kids, and I get a little off. Like even today, I was setting up in this new kind of modifying my workspace, and I dropped
Mm-hmm.
my light.
Mm,
Well, please don't let me have broken this light on this light, whatever. But I didn't break the light, thank God. But
mm-hmm.
enough. I've got a fiberglass table. Who would have imagined that you'd pierce a hole in fiberglass?
Ouch.
Yeah. But the blessing is it's in a spot on the table where I don't really need it. It's
Okay.
right on the table anymore.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's digital. I mean, I have light notes on the side, but I think I'm very more thankful from the standpoint that there's the Lord provides a sacrifice for us sometimes where He'll ask us to do or require us to do something, and we think we've got to sacrifice ourselves, right? This, gentleman that in the Bible story, the guy was going to kill his son. Yeah, I'm gonna take him. Took him with this wood. He raised his sword up to kill, or strike his son down, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Hey, no, hold on, don't do that. There's
Mm-hmm.
a sacrifice in the corner."
Mm-hmm.
My sacrifice this morning was my table and not my light, because if the light had broken this morning, I'm not sure what we would have done.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting in the dark here in the corner and fidgeting about something else. But I'm
Yeah. Would
thankful.
it become an all audio?
Yeah, yeah, my own podcast going on over there. But I think I just want myself to remember, because I know there's people out there that's like me that really are fidgeting and worried about something else and the perspective. And we don't have to pay a cost with ourselves if the Lord doesn't want us to. Give up the time, do what you're supposed to do, honor your word, and call it quits.
Mm. Well, you said a couple things that I want to bring to light. I know, we remind our listeners a lot that we're Christians, and so there's a lot of metaphors, there's a lot of scriptural references that we will refer to, musical things that may be Christian, maybe not,
Yeah,
all of those types of things. And at the core, we want to be that light. We want to be that light that's used in a way that is very natural, not where we are forcing our religion or our beliefs on people, but giving way for perspectives to be respected across the board. I said that to say this, that you brought up the weight of the blankets
yeah,
and how at one point that served you as a source of feeling very secure,
yeah.
tight, held closely. The boogeyman can't get me with the covers over my head. Oh my God,
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, so we're tight and it served a purpose. But sometimes the weight becomes so heavy, it's
Yeah,
no longer serving us to carry it or to
yeah,
have that weight on us. It becomes too much. And
yeah.
so then you said about the light being broken versus the table being broken.
Mhm.
And while you need your table and it serves a purpose, your table is probably much larger. So the space that was damaged was a space that you didn't necessarily need in order to still function.
Sure.
And so if we use that same analogy with removing the weight or the thing that is easily distracting us, that is easily um,
Yeah,
keeping us bound, that is taking us to that place of anxiousness instead of freedom, that is allowing us to go only so far, we have to remove that
yeah.
because that weight, that blanket, that thing is no longer serving us.
Right.
So, how do we get to the place where we can identify and let go of those things that are no longer serving us? And that brings us right to the relationship and what we're willing to invest in the relationships that we have or the relationships that are to come.
Yeah.
And you brought up in our conversation before around a relationship equaling a debit or a credit. And so let's move into that a little bit, because I think that really takes us on this journey of the cost of the relationship.
Yeah. And I love it because the debit, meaning I want to pay that cost in the relationship based out of money I've got ready in my account. I feel like
Hmm.
well, not today. I don't feel like today is a credit day for me because I don't feel like I'm filled up inside of where I needed to be. So I'm not 100%. So I'm gonna give you 100% of what I got. So what I don't have, I'm gonna take it on credit. So there may be something I may say to you or to my kids or say to someone else that I, love, either family love or relational love, and it may be a little harsh, and it won't always be seasoned with that grace that they may be used to getting from me. So that's
Mhm.
going to take something out on credit. That's going to require that I'm gonna need some help. You're gonna owe me one or two, or I got you on the backside on another day when I'm ready. Versus the
Mhm.
habit side, I woke up great, woke up with my mind stayed on to Jesus, and I'm ready to go. But and whatever I give you, then I know that I'm giving it because it's a place that I've already filled up with, and I'm going. And I think I love this analogy. It's related to the 50-50 relationship, where people, they
Mm.
believe that I got my half if you got your half. But we know in every relationship, it's not.
100 and 100 and 110 and 120 and 150 and 150, yeah, it's no 50-50.
No, no,
You
ain't
have to
no.
be a whole person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think there's some moments where if both parties, and it's not even both parties, because when we deal with our kids, it's more than one, right? So everyone involved, it's 100. It's whatever we got, it's what we got, and we have to remember that if a person takes a shot at us, check the motive, right? If we know
Mhm.
that person doesn't take shots at us normally, it's a credit day. I'm gonna put that on credit. I'm gonna let you go.
You need to add that it's a credit day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But it's in communicating that the relationship is not tarnished, that it's not damaged. Because if I know you don't take cheap shots, I can forgive that. But if you continue on that path of taking cheap shots all the time, now I'm questioning, am is this really who he is, or is just this a day and a moment in time? And so what I'm really getting to is, like, in relationships, when whether we're on the debit and we're full and things are happening and we're accommodating and we're dealing out currency and we're happy and
yeah,
got up on the right side of the bed, or it's a credit day where I need some extra grace. I need for you to understand that this is a moment in time for me.
yeah,
When those moments in time continue, there needs to be an apology.
yeah.
And that apology has to be sincere. And that apology is not just enough to say, I'm sorry for what I did, sometimes, depending on the offense and depending on how long I've accommodated
Oof.
your need for credit in my store, in my body, in my space.
Yeah.
The apology is best said through changed behavior. And that apology begins a new relationship from this point forward. Because the old you that was dealing with me, and that was talking to me crazy, or that was whatever, when I was allowing you credit in my store, in my space,
Mhm.
and I'm deciding I'm no longer allowing to give you credit at my store. There's a boundary that has been overstepped, and you apologize with change behavior. I have to let that part go and start dealing with you based on this new relationship. And so many times in our relationships across the board, whether they're love, intimate, family, children, parent, that apology doesn't happen. The behavior may not change, or the behavior may change depending on what lens I'm looking through on the day that I receive
Sure.
that apology. But the relationship has to change. And so we have to reestablish what that new relationship looks like. And I'm not sure that we're doing that.
I don't think we do that a lot in our relationships, because how often do you and Steve get up and say to each other, "Hey, I'm overdrawn today. I
Mm,
need some credit. I need some help. I need a loan from the bank, from the love department." I know when I can't remember the name of the guy that does that series on love. He does a whole different study. I'll get it. We'll post it on the social media, but he does a whole thing on love. And that's one
okay.
thing he also tries to tell the people in relationships. And look, tell people today when you get up or in moments, this is what moment today it is. I'm depleted. I'm at zero on my love tank, or I'm full on my love tank. I need something from you. Can you help me today? I got 100, I got 10, I got 5. The other person then has to say and evaluate where they are and say, you know what? Today I got you. I got 124, so I can come across and meet you the whole way. Don't worry about it. You're not overdrawn in your account with me. We could keep it moving. But we don't take those times in work and business relationships, family relationships, even with our children, because it isn't always appropriate to walk around and answer a phone, "Hi, so and so, can I help you?" Yeah, you know what? First, before we start our conversation, I'm overdrawn on my love tank, so watch what you say to me. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we'll get a heated person who's also below on the overdrawn on their love account, and they get at us. They took that shot, and I'm like, well, you know what? I don't know you from a can of paint, so I'm gonna take that shot right back. And we wound up with a whole bunch of problems right from that jump.
Yeah. So I learned how to do that personally. I've been practicing it a long time. I didn't get it right in some of my earlier relationships,
Sure.
but I actually do check in with myself and check in with my husband to say, what's on the agenda today? How are you feeling today? Yesterday was a good example. I was raring and ready to go. We work out together on Tuesdays. We walk Tuesdays and Thursdays. We walk.
Yeah.
Well, he was kind of when he sees this later, you're welcome. He was kind of low key, like the day before. Oh man, I'm kind of tired. That this weekend, da da da. And I'm like, okay, so I see where this is going. So in the morning when we woke up, he was kind of sluggish, and so I extended the grace. I said, hey, if you're not up for walking today, because we usually take the kids, drop them off at school and work, and then come back and walk. We're already dressed in our workout attire, and he didn't have his workout attire. He had on his fatigue shorts like he was going out to work in the yard. So I said, hey, if you don't want to work out today, that's cool.
Right.
I'm going to move forward with my workout on my own that I would normally do on Monday or Wednesday. And so he goes, oh yeah, I really, yeah, that'll probably be good. But before I started my workout, I checked in with him again to say, just to be sure, I'm going to move forward with my workout. And you're not walking today, correct? And he goes, yeah, that's correct. Thank you, babe. I'm going to take care of whatever.
Right.
But I have this analogy around our bodies being a bank or a bucket. And when we first wake up, just waking up, hearing the alarm, or however you get up, I'm gonna use a whole round number so I can do the math right. But we're already about 10% full because we're already starting to think about, what are we doing for this day? What is your process? For me, wake up, snooze for 5 minutes, sometimes get straight up, do my affirmations before my feet hit the ground, read my daily word, and then I start the podcast that I listen to. That's totally inspirational while I'm moving to get into phase 1 of my hygiene routine to prepare to work out, right?
Sure.
So, or to prepare to take the kids to come back and then work out. So wake up, kids. Caitlin's always ready, but Lawrence is sometimes not ready. Caitlin is the princess, our 9-year-old, and Lawrence is our prince. He's 19, and so he works at the school that Caitlin goes to. Lawrence is typically up at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning. There's no reason he shouldn't be ready to roll at 7 on the 7 on the dot.
Right.
Somehow it's 7:05. Now my bucket is filling up. Now I'm at 25%. Okay.
Right.
Because now I'm like, if you're late, you can't open the gate. That puts Caitlin late, which means she can't do what she needs to do at school. So now we get in the car and we're rushing. Now I'm about 25%. I'm about 50% full now because we have construction on where we live. So now I'm frustrated by the traffic. I'm frustrated that we should have left at 7:15. And so I'm already 50% full, and it's not even 7:30 in the morning. And I'm halfway full. So I could go through the rest of those things, get to the school, and there's a line of traffic. People aren't ready. People are being not being courteous. So now I'm 75% before I even get to do what really fills me up. My point is, you take that every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day, what is filling up your bucket before you actually can refill, FILL, or to refill, FEEL. What are you doing to refill yourself? And a lot of times, what we end up doing is overdrawing our bank account.
Yep.
And so now we're giving negative currency, which means nothing. So my relationship with you, I'm snapping at you, like you say, snapping at the kids, snapping at the grocery store person. We have this, we're overdrawn, and we're now giving from a place of negativity. Which doesn't make us feel, because it's not the character that we want to be displaying, and it doesn't make other people feel good. So it's really important that we do check in with ourselves, and that we are having those conversations of where we are, so we can allow, I say on all of my individual podcasts, give the grace that you want to receive.
I love that. If we would do that, our day would be so much better. Even with prepping for today, I had a day and a half where I should have done this work then, but I made excuses. Oh, I can do it then, or I'll put it off. I'll go and I'll get it done in the morning. I have plenty of time before. But we should never put ourselves in those positions where we're at risk if the bucket overflows, or if we don't give
Yeah.
ourselves enough time getting to the things, or getting to the good part, right? As some of the rappers would say, if we get to the good part, there's nothing left. We can't really enjoy that good part because we were already at 99 and the bucket getting ready to overflow, and we're mad and we're
Yes.
frustrated, we're sad, and it's just, or such a little amount of time to be able to enjoy the good part because we're so
Yes.
frustrated, we're so over the top. Even this morning, when I finally did manage to wake up at 7:30, I should have taken the dogs out right away. I should have let them move around, and then that would have given me a few more minutes to get ready for
Mhm.
here without them hanging around looking at me like, "Oh, Dad, I'm hungry. I want to do this. And can't you pet me?" And I'm like, "No, I can't pet you. I got stuff to do. Don't you understand? Don't you see? I got to do this." And they're dogs. They don't understand. They just know that, well, he took us out of the thing and normally go to the bathroom, and then he'll normally pet us and we'll run around. And when he doesn't pet us, that's a bad thing. That means he's going to go stare at that thing on the desk. And they know enough to go if it's going to be a good day for them or
Yeah.
a bad day. I wish we would do like the pets, like you're saying, and we would read the room and feel it, figuring out if it's going to be a good day or bad day sooner,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
go from there. And our kids do the same thing, because of
Yeah.
our kids have. I don't know about you, but my kids,
Mhm.
man, I think most days I need to already leave it as a guarantee that they're going to wake up slow, which is going to set me on 99. I'm going to go from 0 to 99 on the beginning.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to drop them at your house next time. Trust me.
Oh, it's real, and that you call it, relational currency. You've said that before about the different currencies that we use with different people, and with Jackson, your baby boy, it might be whatever it is, I don't know. But with Evan, it's something different. That's the same thing with my husband, or with our kids. That relational currency changes from who we are exchanging our relationship behaviors with. And I was sharing with you that I wrote a blog around dating. How young is too young to date? And really, the idea of it was that I was dating my kids at a point when I was a single parent. I was teaching. I knew I couldn't. I'm not a man, so I couldn't teach two boys
Right.
how to be men. But what I was teaching them was how to be gentlemen.
Mm.
So I would wait at the door. So every day, every week that I got paid, so every other week, I would take them out on the date.
Yeah.
I would take them to nice restaurants for their age appropriate, right?
Sure.
Olive Garden. We go to BJ's. We might go to Fuddruckers or wherever it was.
You
It
weren't
was
going to
always going to
McDonald's?
be, huh?
You weren't going to McDonald's?
No, I did not take them to McDonald's on a date. I wanted to set that precedence. Stereotypical, but no, we went to a restaurant that we could sit down, we could practice manners, where your fork is, what's a dessert spoon, your glass goes on this side, your napkin goes in your lap, all of those type of things, teaching them how to be, and I would wait at the door. And whether they did it together, at one point they would both have to pull the door together because they needed the strength,
Yeah.
or when they got older, be able to open the door. I do that to this day. And so I was talking about teaching our kids, teaching the next generation how important it is to that your respect for who you're with, or your respect for a relationship, is really important,
Yeah.
and how the title breeds this expectation. So when we go from let's say you like somebody, you have a crush on somebody, you don't have any expectation perhaps that they have a crush on you, but your behavior toward them, you might become more nice, you might become more visible, so there's an expectation around you, what you call that relationship. So let's say your crush actually asks you to go steady or date or whatever, I don't know what the word is now.
Yeah.
Hook up, I don't know, that means something
Oh,
else, I don't know.
yeah, that's
But
a whole different
that's
part.
a whole nother thing.
It doesn't
Okay.
even have to be
Okay.
a
Well,
steady
let's
hookup.
let's go there, right? So we're now boyfriend and girlfriend. The expectation changes based
Yeah.
on that title. I
Yeah.
no longer want you crushing on nobody else. I no longer want you doing going out on dates with other people per se.
Yeah.
As we get older and we say that we're dating, but we're not committed, then that breeds a different expectation until you ask me to marry you. Now you ask me to marry you, but you've been hooking up with all these other people. I have a decision to make because when you ask me to marry me, then that is a different level of commitment. And my expectation around marriage going into this next phase means that we are monogamous.
Yeah.
Unless we agree
Yeah.
that we have a different lifestyle pattern that warrants something else. Again, the relationship title breeds the expectation. So when I have my friendships,
Yeah.
I'm acting out what I believe a good friend does. And
Yep.
sometimes my good friend doesn't look like the same to my friend.
Right.
It might look like they're doing more for me than I'm doing for them, but that's based on their interpretation of what a friend means. Also,
Yeah.
communication has to be paramount, because we could be saying that we're in a titled relationship with someone and they're not in that same relationship with us, which means we need to reset our expectations and our boundaries. And that there's a cost there for sure.
This huge cost, and even in the relational side, right? If you're whether you're committed or not committed, especially for the non-committed ones, right?
Mhm.
If a
Mhm.
person you're trying to, crush on and be with, if they actually have something wrong or they ask you for something that maybe is a little
Mhm.
out of the norm for you, that you feel like, wait a minute, I have to kind of stretch to go do that one, right?
Mhm.
It's not just the easy pitter pat ones. This is a real life help that they need.
Yes.
And if you
Yes.
give a yes, you can't then go back and treat them some kind of way because they asked you. The
Yes.
issue is that you said yes. And if you
Yes.
said yes, you better do that thing and like it's your life depends on it. You better do it with a smile, and you can't, set apart and take your time with that thing. You better make sure that it's a plan that you're both coming up with, that you're both agreeing
Yes.
to, and making sure that that works for them. Because you don't want to make them feel some kind of way or belittled or entitled to you or beholding to you because now
Mhm.
they had to come to you for help. Oh, mighty one, I need your help. You don't want
Wish
that.
granted.
You
Yes,
want that. That's
exactly.
not
Yeah.
cool. And because if you do that, if we set those kind of boundaries and set those kind of new expectations in the title, that they're going to get the understanding that, I asked them for something
Mhm.
and they held it over me for the
Mhm.
rest for some amount of time. It could be
To
the entire relationship.
perpetuity.
Well, for some folks it is that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know how that feels. Where
Yes.
I've had, family and friends to do that to me and hang something over my head like they were TMZ, caught me in some type of thing,
Mm.
like trying to hold me hostage and use that relational currency to force me then to do something for them out of a vain obligation. And I don't want to ever
Mm.
do that to anybody. If I
Yeah.
told you that that I would do my part if you needed something, I'm going to do that and call
Yeah.
it good. I don't
Yeah.
want to ever make anybody feel that now that you've done this for me, now you owe me.
Yeah.
That doesn't help their credit account get full.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-mm.
It actually takes from the credit account if you make somebody feel that kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And the thing that came up for me is you're overdrawing me. And that
Yep.
that within itself is just like it's not only the acknowledgement that I am overwhelmed.
Yeah.
There's a piece of me that has to acknowledge too that I've been over accommodating in some way, that I've said yes to something that maybe I did say yes to out of obligation or out of my title being your cousin or being your sister or being, you being my brother or what have you. I said yes based on the title, but not from what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
That was a hard lesson for me to really understand, and I started to unravel it in the last few years.
Sure.
Even with like gift giving, I made a decision that I was no longer going to buy tangible gifts for
Yeah.
people outside of my home. And
Okay.
even with them, it was going, I wanted to give them something that I knew they could use instead of something that was just going to be this figurine that collects dust. So I made up in my mind, it's been about 5 years now, I wanted to create experiences for people that I love. And I started a grandma's luncheon for Christmas, where we would invite the grandmothers, my kids' grandmothers, both of them are still living, and have them come, and we prepare dinner for them. It started actually as going out to the restaurant. So I wanted to create this experience that created a memory, because I learned the memory is much more valuable than the thing that I'm giving you. And so in that process, I also started weeding out people that I was not going to buy gifts for, period, because I was doing it out of obligation, not from a place of I want to give. And when I think about giving, I'm expecting something in return, not from that person, but like if I give at church, if I give to the community, I'm expecting something good to happen to me. And if I'm only thinking that I'm giving you this because I want something back from you, that's not a free place for me to give. And I'm actually creating that negative loop of reaping what I sow, because I'm not giving from a pure place. And I had to have some very tough conversations with people that the gift meant a lot to them, because they didn't see me all the time, or our relationship had, our status in our relationship, our title had changed. And so my gift to them represented what my title was to them. I had to unravel that. I had to unravel that. And I've been really free by doing that. I feel more free. I'm not telling people don't buy your loved ones gifts. I'm saying for me, it represented the freedom from an expectation that I could never live up to, A, and B, a boundary that I wanted to set for myself, for how I wanted how I perceived myself to be and who I was becoming.
I heard in your, you said don't get no gifts. In fact, I'll put that as the thing across the banner on the bottom. So don't give them nothing, even if they're in your house. That's what I heard. Didn't y'all hear that? I know I heard it.
Ooh, I
We're
clarified.
going to check the receipts. And like Dion said, go check the receipts. So Coach Prime, I say, good enough for Coach Prime, good enough for me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But I feel that because there's no reason why we should ever put an unnecessary expectation on somebody, because we don't want it that way when people do it to us.
Nope.
So if we don't want it that way, why don't we set that boundary? But I think some folks do it because, or sometimes I should say we do it sometime when we want to get back at someone else for having done it to us. And now I can do that to me. I can turn that table on somebody, and it's all about me now, versus if I would just take a minute and always remember to treat someone, whether they took a shot at me or not, treat them like I would want them to be treated. But I know when I had some tough relationships, like with a late spouse or with family or friends, sometimes you have to be able to cross the communication board and meet a person where they are. So there's moments where if they're treating you a certain way, if it feels like they're taking a shot, they're taking a shot. And to them, it may not even be like they're taking a shot. This is just their communication style. So I've learned to communicate to them in their style. If they're taking shots, I'll take a shot at them. I remember I did that one time or several times with my late wife. And I remember she stopped. She goes, "Why are you doing that to me? Why are you," whatever that was. She asked me. I said, "Well, because you do it to me all the time." So I figured, since you do it and I don't like it, then I'll do it back to you. And maybe you'll get a feel for how uncomfortable it feels. And maybe that will help you. And I remember she didn't do it like that anymore after that, because it just didn't feel comfortable in the way that I was bringing it back to her.
My father used to say, frank people don't like to be spoken frankly to. And I was like, okay, grammatically, Dad. But yeah. And sometimes that has to happen. You hold a mirror up to someone. And typically that there's a part of me that believes when we are courageous enough to do that, that means that we care about the relationship, because we want something different from that relationship. And then the other part of me is thinking, what might be a better way to do that? But I can't necessarily think of one unless you had communicated it before and this became like your last resort.
Sure.
You know, I don't like it when you talk to me. We talk in my practice, talk a lot of I statements. You know, I I feel when you in the future I would expect this or I want this, right? And the key to that is the feeling. We talked about this a little bit in another episode, but identifying the feeling. Most people, we say, I feel that. Well, that is not a feeling.
Right.
So how do you identify what you're feeling in that moment? In your case, you know, I feel disrespected, but that's still like a level above. Really, what I learned about myself is when I was feeling disrespected, there was a dismissal
Yeah.
piece of it
Sure.
that really defined more of what I was feeling.
Sure.
I didn't like to feel overlooked or underappreciated or not acknowledged for something that I had value
Sure.
belief in. But
Sure.
at the baseline, at the core emotion is I felt hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really felt hurt that you would think that it was okay to say that to me, or that you would think that I would behave in a way that made you feel yada yada yada. So it's like it goes back to show them who you are. Also, or you know, another episode. But it was just at the core of what I was feeling hurt.
Yeah.
And if I was able to communicate, when I have been able to communicate that, even with my husband now, um, when I feel that he's not listening or he's over talking, or I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'm gonna sit in silence for a moment, not in anger, but I'm gonna let you finish because clearly what you're saying you think is more important than what I have to say. So
Sure.
I'm gonna sit quiet and I'm gonna keep a log. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna respond, and then I'm gonna go. Okay, not before I was really interrupted. I do that in sarcasm with him sometimes, for something that's not serious. But when it's serious, I go, okay. I want to be sure I heard you, because I didn't feel heard, and I want to be sure that we're on the same page with where we're going with this conversation next.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what we talked about with the relational currency. Sometimes I'm not even sure in our relationships that all of our currency is the same.
It's not.
Some of
I
us
can tell you,
are,
it's not.
yeah, some of us are
Mhm.
spending pesos, some of us spending dollars, some folks
Oh,
spending rubles, you know what I'm saying?
okay.
Some of us spending pounds, some of us spending francs,
Euros.
euros, some folks are spending matchsticks,
I think you need a shirt for that one.
you know what I'm saying?
Like,
I'm
what's
going
your
to have,
currency?
yeah,
And then like have all the different, denominations of money. That would be
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that'll be on the next episode. I'll have that on next. Me and my shirts. This.
I love that one, by the way. It's new. I don't think we've seen that
Yeah,
one.
no, I appreciate it. This is the.
Yeah.
Well, this is I actually wore this. I think the night we went out for with you, Steve, and I
Oh,
went out
for our
for
meeting, our month.
the
Yeah.
meetings, monthly meetings, and I did add something to this one. Though we added the sleeve, so we does
Ooh.
have the same
We
collective
got
on the
all
sleeve.
this fancy stuff going on. Let me change my view so I can see the sleeve. Show me again.
I'll probably make sure the sleeve pop.
Oh,
That
look at
collective on the
that.
sleeve, and now I was supposed to have done it a little bit differently. So the goal is that it reads this way easily, and the
Yes.
left arm. This is a test shirt, so I'm wearing the test dummies. This shirt is backwards. It doesn't. I want people to always
Oh,
read the
I
diacritics
see.
on the outside. So,
Okay.
right,
Okay. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
one's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So you give
Dad
so you
collective.
like the Denzel Washington when you go meet him in public, he'll give you the forearm. So if I give you get some of that forearm, they can read that.
And make sure it's that one though. Yeah, your dad collective is banging. I'm
I
digging it. I
appreciate
like
it.
it.
I appreciate
Yeah,
you. And we're gonna have some merch for Knight&Craig. So if you continue to watch your episodes, it's gonna be out there
absolutely.
too. It's gonna be banging, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
The
But
prototype is amazing, by the way. So
I
I'm
appreciate you. I
excited.
appreciate you. But I just think we need to make sure we understand that when we're dealing with someone who's spending the relational currency with us in pesos, man, it's gonna take a whole lot more money from them or from us to
Energy, right?
oh,
That money equals energy, time. You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have some folks that we're all related to someone, whether it be an emotional, heartwarming romantic relationship, or it's a family-based relationship, or it's just a work or friends and family kind of thing. Some folks, it takes forever for me to even think about want to deal. with them. And
Mm,
there's some people
mhm.
whose time has come and gone where, you know what, I need to let that spend a little currency with them as infrequently as possible because I don't know about you, but I don't always like having to use a passport to get out the country because sometimes certain countries takes a long time to get through the airport custom check-in. And some of these
Mhm.
countries require a visa and a passport and a letter from your mama's mama to deal with them. And they got guards with shotguns in the airport.
Yeah.
Them kind of folk, I don't need to deal with them no more. I'm good.
Yeah. It goes back to setting the boundary and the manipulation that sometimes is not only the cause of the necessity for the boundary, but it's also, I don't want to say it like that. All right, I'll give you an example.
Oh
Like
Lord.
here it go. Okay. I had to have a conversation. It was necessary for me to have a conversation with someone that was a leader of mine.
Hmm.
And they appreciated what I brought to the table in terms of my skill set, my knowledge, my speaking, teaching, curriculum development in my capacity as a CEO of my own business and what products and services that we bring. There was value that I knew that they appreciated and that they needed. What I didn't appreciate was the fact that this particular leader would, I felt, take advantage.
Hmm.
I felt dismissed. I actually did feel disrespected. I did not feel connected to what they were doing based on the way that they were treating me because my conversation went something like this: you represent a manipulative relationship to me
Hmm.
that I've survived 2 lifetimes, where someone takes advantage or for granted
Sure.
what I'm doing for them.
Sure.
When you say, Shell, I need help, then there's a part that I'm doing and there's a part that you're doing, not me doing all on my own. When you're the one asking me for help, there's a mutuality there and an agreement. And so your spur of the moment demands, not even a request, because you're not asking me, you're assuming that
Yeah.
because I have this skill that I want to give this gift to you.
Yeah.
um that doesn't work for me, so I have to remove myself from this relationship because it represents a past for me that I have let go, so it becomes a trigger.
Mm.
It was becoming a trigger for me that was taking me to a very negative place where I knew I had grown and found how to not only pull myself out of that space, but
Sure.
that I needed to reset the boundaries because maybe I haven't told you this yet. Maybe, and if I have told you and now you're just doing that, now I have to reset this complete relationship and I have to remove myself
Yep.
because it's no longer serving me. It's not healthy for me to be in that space. And though that was a tough conversation
Mm.
because this particular leader was connected in so many ways throughout other relationships that were important for me to keep intact.
Sure. Sure.
So how do I show up when we're all in the same room together? I'm not fake and I'm not going to be fake. I will greet you, I will be respectful, but I'm very clear on my relationship with you and I will not allow you in that space and never gave you permission to talk to me that way, never gave you permission to treat me that way, nor would I ever. So we're good. We can reconcile, I can forgive the relationship, but that does not mean I'm going to reconcile the relationship.
Yeah, but it makes me wonder which I showed up. Was that Shell from Dago, or was that Dr. Knight that showed up? I wasn't sure which
It
that
was
was.
it was a mixture of the two. Let me tell you, Dr. Knight was speaking very clearly, articulately, speaking clear English, very focused. But the attitude, I'm sure, was show.
I managed because I've had some people tell me when you had to have those crunchy conversations
Yeah.
that I don't know how to speak to you anymore. I don't know how to talk to you anymore. And I'm thinking your emotional current or relational currency there obviously changed because we used to have dollar bill y'alls and how we dealt with each other, but
Mm-hmm.
somehow maybe you thought I moved to France or to France or somewhere, and all of a sudden our relationship came in francs, and I don't know what what is that, the
Exchange, the currency
exchange
exchange,
rate.
a
I don't
rate of exchange.
know
Yeah.
what the rate of exchange is there, because sometimes the rate of exchange is high. Like we
Yeah.
talked about for pesos and francs, there's a large difference between, especially the one who's got the lower value. If I think that, or if you're making me feel like
Mm-hmm.
my currency is less, means you're going to demand and expect more from me to do the same exact thing in the
Mm-hmm.
relationship that I know that I'm doing what I'm, because sworn I was giving you a dollar bill and you was giving me dollar bills back, but no, somehow you relegated my currency to something less and you're demanding so much more.
Yeah.
I had to make sure that in those relationships that I called the person on it
Mm-hmm.
so that they understood I'm valuable. And when you did this, like you mentioned before, when you did this to me, it made me feel a certain kind of way. So we had to reset the
Mm-hmm.
relationship. We had to make sure that we both laid our currency on the table and said, hey, what are you using right now? Are you using credit? But if we're using all credit, then it's easy because all the exchange rates are taken care of on the back end. You know what I'm saying? But if
Yeah, but that's dangerous because
huh,
it's like now you're in debt and you don't have enough money to pay back literally
yeah,
all the debts that you owe.
right, right.
So
But
it brings to and I apologize, I cut you off.
no, go, please.
It just brings to mind that the point of the obligation,
Yeah,
you know, and making hasty decisions without thinking them all the way through. Those there's a word, not impromptu, um, but decisions that we're not thinking about. I'm saying yes to you today for an outcome, you know, a year later that's still haunting me because I shouldn't have never said yes. I should have taken the time to think about
yeah,
what I could actually do to
yep.
either help you or to maintain a healthy relationship with you. But instead, I said yes swiftly, and now, you know, 3 babies later, you know, I'm now obligated to you because I used my credit currency
Yeah, yeah.
instead of debiting what I could actually pay for in
But
that moment.
it's interesting you said that we're using the credit analogy because some folks have a really poor credit score with us,
Mm-hmm.
where even if they started to do the things to repair the credit and try to change the relationship and try to pay more in cash or debit with us
Mm-hmm.
versus credit, I find myself not always allowing that person's rating to improve
Mm-hmm.
because the relationship with myself and them has either been totally cut off and suspended, their account has been closed, there's no way we're transacting any more
Your
business.
account has been denied.
Exactly. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but for the ones that we've got to have those accounts open with, like you mentioned before, sometimes they're so far overdrawn, and I'm tired of my bank having to call your bank and say, hey, look, you need to give me that back. You owe me something. I just stop calling. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I start sending out those bad ratings against your credit report and saying, look, this person's a dork. You know, they're acting like, 4/5 of a human, and I don't want to deal with them. I know
Mm.
the Bible lets me use one of these super sensitive words. I'm not going to use it right now. I'm going to call them a donkey in their face. But anyway, yeah, I would call them that on a regular and block their number and not take their calls. Or
Mm-hmm.
if we would see each other out in public, it would be a real cold, icy situation because I don't hold my tongue. I don't hold my face very well. So it doesn't suit us well getting our wants and needs met with a person who's overdrawn.
So that's really like a great segue for what we'll be talking about in part two.
Mhm.
Additionally, the cost of relationship, but how do you deal with that cost?
Sure.
How do you forgive without reconciling? I've heard that message in many ways at my own church, and then conversation with people, it continues to come up. So I think that would be a great place to pick up. You know, when you see these people that their credit is no longer good with you, how do you become maybe not good with them in the same space of the relationship? Meaning you're not going back to this reconciled relationship where everything is all good, but perhaps there is a way to determine what a new relationship looks like for the sake of you, meaning you're not in a space where you're allowing their presence to disrupt who you are or who you are becoming or who you have become after the tragedy of that relationship, after the loss of that relationship, after the mourning or the grief of that relationship, because they should not have that power over you, which means there's some work that you have to do within yourself.
Ooh, so yeah, I should have put it on the screen here. I'm gonna write it down in a second. So you're saying that if a person is relationally bankrupt
Mm-hmm.
for you, and they try to reinvent themselves, what was it, a chapter 11, chapter whatever, restructuring,
13, I don't know.
13, whatever them chapters of
I hope
restructuring,
I never know that, by the way.
you know
But
what I'm
yeah.
saying? Me either. And they may have a name that's similar. How do you how do you treat and no, let's just do the use the word like you do. How do you restart that relationship again with a person who's relationally bankrupt?
Mm. It's a decision point. It's a decision point. And so you have to think about, who are you to them? What
Mhm.
have they been? Who have they been to you? Is there anything that is worth in that particular relationship? Because you can love and not like, and I know we don't like to do that. But just because I love you doesn't mean I want you at my dinner table in my face every
Man,
week. I don't have to have that level, that depth of relationship with you
yeah,
to to love and respect you for who you are. But we have different lifestyles, we have
yeah,
different interpretations of what my role means to you and what your role means to me. We're on different pages, and I can accept that. Maybe I have to grieve that relationship to get to acceptance. Maybe I'm in denial for several years, been there.
yeah,
Maybe I'm angry about what happened. Maybe I'm bargaining to figure out what I can do. Maybe I'm trying to just figure out, how do I continue to maintain who I am and
sure,
continue to respect who you are, but not bring you in that close this time. My circle has shrunk so much. It's literally my home. And I recognize that more and more and more. And that's okay with me. It's not that I don't have, soldiers surrounding my house
sure.
that I trust and that I love or whatever. But at my core, I don't have to. I can forgive you, I can love you, but that does not mean I want my space mucked up with your presence. And I want to know if I'm doing that to someone else. I don't expect anything different than what I'm giving, right? You reap what you sow.
You,
So
yeah. I'm trying to find this Tupac quote as we're going. He's got a quote where he basically says something that he doesn't. It's not like he doesn't want you to eat. I just don't want you to eat at my table.
that part,
You
yes,
know,
yes,
and we'll
yes.
post that on social too, because that is really where I find myself with a lot of people. That's the only thing that actually got me through a lot of relationships that are trying to restart, right?
Hmm.
And some of them aren't even trying to restart, but I still have connection with these people, either through, you know, marriage or children, blood, no blood, business, no business, neighbors, no neighbor. It just depends. And there's people who I'll even see and be in the same presence and room with, where I've spoken to them and they refuse to speak to me.
Mm,
And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. We can be dirty and grimy like that if that's what you do. But I just know in certain cases they don't treat other people like that. They would be, I know I've seen them treat people civil and
hmm.
cordial. We're only supposed to show love, right? It doesn't have to be romantic love. It doesn't have to be
Right.
familial love. It doesn't have to be, any of that type of predetermined 7 other categories of love,
Hmm.
other than the love that we have for God, right? We should treat people, and if you don't believe in God, I get it, but you should at least treat someone with the same basic love that you would treat any other human being. And when you find yourself doing even less than that, that's where you really got to check who you are and your motives, because even if the person is an axe murderer and has slaughtered your whole family and left you behind,
Hmm.
I get it, you'd be angry. But if that
Hmm.
didn't happen, I'm really not sure to what degree what would ever have been done to cause you to not treat a person less than human.
Got it. Yeah. I wrote down if our current relationship is based on past, meaning when I see you, we're only talking about when we used to club, when we used to hang out, when we used to, come home 5 a.m., whatever.
Yeah.
If that's the only relationship that I have with you that is based on the past, and I'm no longer living like that.
Yeah.
We have no present and we have no future
Right.
until we can relearn each other. If that's the choice that I want to make.
Right.
There has to be an unlearning, similar to the apology. There has to be an unlearning and a relearning, and that relearning starts a new relationship. Other than that, this is my opinion, and I'm not that type of doctor. There is no relationship.
I'm gonna put one down here that sparked something in what you just said. If you're willing to make a relational investment,
That part
in a person, and that would have to come then during the restart or the restructuring of the relationship, or even at the new relationship that you have with a person. Again, we don't want everybody to think when we say relationship that it's always the sexual romantic relationship. These are sometimes just friends and family. These are just folks that you pass by, and in some cases, that you're meeting new family for the first time. I have a friend who's my age, who's meeting blood family for the first time. There's a relational investment that they're putting in at the family level. If you've lost connection with family and friends, and you're both interested in restoring that relationship, there's some relational investment that we need to make. But if there's not anything worth that investment, I said the investment capital is us. And our mentality. Do we feel safe with the person? Do we feel like the person is respecting us or going to respect us? Not based off of the past, like you mentioned, but we have to make a determination right now. Does that person have enough, and do I have the relational capital that I'm willing to lose in this relationship should it go sideways?
There was something that came to mind as you were talking about the relational investment and the risk that you take. Because when we are, let's say in your friend's case, meeting family for the first time, that's probably a very exciting time. I've coached several people who, met their dad or their siblings for the first time, found out on this journey that, this person, and what they had done was kind of like fantasized about what that moment would be like, fantasized about what their relationship would be, because 5-year-old them is like, I just want my daddy to push me on the swing. Well, now you're 35, he ain't pushing you on no swing. He's not thinking about the swing. And but that's something that you longed for. So what happens when you long for something, you create the story around what is going to be, and then
disappointment set in.
That ex is blown up because your daddy really is a crackhead.
Yeah.
Your mama really is not a good person. But you've longed to meet them. You've longed. And so your sister, your brother, everything that people said is now true. And there are more, in my opinion, my experience, there are more success stories with people finding out other things. But those relationships are difficult to maintain because we've been walking on these journeys by ourselves, so to speak. And now we're trying to merge these things together. And that's true for our relationships. We are individuals coming to a collective decision, a mutual decision around who we are going to be to one another. And that is powerfully challenging.
Well, next time we come back and continue with part 2 of Family Matters, I don't even remember what the subtitle for that one for part 2 is. But anyway, you catch in part 2 of the Family Matters series. We're going to continue this discussion and that much more in what we do with our relational currency and our investment we make in people, how we deal with ourselves, because it always starts with us. And it starts really begins and ends with us at all points. How other people respond to us, it's their problem, not with us. But we'll see you next time. Join us again right here on Knight and Craig. I'm Craig, and she is
night. And don't forget, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, what have you, you can always email us. If there's a topic that you want us to discuss, or there's a challenge that you have personally, email us at Knight&Craig, spell out that AND, show@gmail.com. Knight&Craig, show@gmail.com. We hope to see you next time.
Love y'all. Peace.
I came to win, I don't mean to offend. The greatest on the mic, mightiest with the pen. Losing never been a choice, but a line is the same. Ascending, word bending, burns, birthed in the gym. Akin to the best, never aiming for less. Opposition so foul, got me calling for rest. Who's next to get bested? Mind, soul, and flesh is antithesis of mess. It's the pressure so clean. Hold on, you better catch a God throwing blessings. Dreams manifested, you get what I mean? God always had a plan, he created for me. Success only means that I did what he seen. Got the game